Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I returned to the Far East. Now I am in my home region, Primorsky Krai, in Spassk, and today I will tell you about the city of Ussurisk. I went there on my way to Vladivostok and I just couldn't skip Ussurisk because it is a very interesting city and there's a lot to tell about. So let's begin our journey. Ussurisk is a city located in the far east of Russia in the region Primorsky Krai. Population 160,000 people. The city is founded in 1866, but long before the arrival of the Russians, people lived in these territories. Today we will learn about medieval kingdoms and indigenous peoples of this region, look for Ussuri tigers, and discuss the best Russian political satire show that comes from Ussurisk. So the city is named Ussurisk after the Ussuri River, and before this region, Primorsky Krai, was named Ussuriski Krai, so it's like the region of Ussuri. My first acquaintance with Ussurisk happened when I was at school, and we went on a school trip. We went to the theater, to the city park, and also went to bowling. And you know, for me, Ussurisk was a big city back then. I remember how excited I was about it. I was amazed by all these things that we didn't have in Spassk. The city's name is reflected in the book Po Ussuriskому краю, Across the Ussurisk Territory, by writer and ethnographer Vladimir Arseniev, who explored these lands in the early 20th century. In the book, Arseniev described numerous species of Far Eastern flora and the lifestyle of native peoples. As a child, I was very inspired by his books, and even living in Spassk, I always wanted to learn about other cities of Primorye. My second time when I came to Ussurisk was a little later. I was 15, and actually I came here by work. A deputy from Spassk hired some sociologists from Moscow to make a public opinion inquiry of people in Primorsky Krai on the political situation and about different politicians here. I invited my friends, and for us it was a cool opportunity just to travel to different villages around Spassk, and our bosses took us here to Ussurisk. They took us to some fancy cafe. There I remember I tried coffee made on the coffee machine for the first time, so my first real coffee ever, and it hit me so hard. I remember it gave me so much energy. So after that I went out to the street and I felt so cool, like I am walking alone in a big city and working here. And actually our interviews were conducted that way, so we knocked at people's doors, and I went to the apartment of some military guy. Oh, they're a military guy, by the way, are passing. Hi, nice coincidence. I remember the day, and even though now Ussurisk doesn't seem a big city for me, I still have some memories from my first impression from the city. It says studying in China by scholarships without exams. A typical Russian yard. Well, actually it looks not that bad. They even have a bench. It's not that old. And typical Soviet swings. One interesting thing about Russian yards is that these are garages, and I suppose they belong to the people who live here, so it's really convenient for local people to keep your car here and for local kids to jump and play here when this playground is not enough. This is a central city park called Park Dora. Oh my god. It looks like an average Russian park, but here is something that you wouldn't expect to see. At the first sight, this sculpture looks very simple, but in fact, it has a lot of historical significance because it is 800 years old and it was discovered somewhere here near this park. Actually, not only one, but two sculptures like this were found here in Ussurisk. Another one was presented to the Museum of Local Lore in the Khabarovsk city, which you know is located also in the Far East, but a little to the north. And guys, look how cute it is. So this is her back legs. It looks like a leg of a cat, really. And one more interesting thing about this sculpture is this little pitch for water, and I really don't know what it is for. Maybe it was made for some rituals. In fact, it is a dragon with the shell of a turtle. It is called BC. It's one of the 9 sons of the Dragon King in the Chinese mythology. Such stone sculptures were installed on the graves of persons of the imperial family of the Jurchen state. The Jurchen were tribes that inhabited the territory of Manchuria, central and northeastern China, North Korea, and Primorsky Krai in the 10th to 15th century. And even earlier, from 692 to 926, the kingdom of Bohai, located here. To learn more about them, let's go to the Ussuri Museum. Bohai was a multinational state. Its main population was Mohe, the ancestors of the Jurchens. Bohai possessed developed medieval crafts and was engaged in trade with neighboring countries such as the Turkic Khaganate, Japan, Silla, and the Tang Empire. The descendants of the Jurchens are such peoples as Manchu, Nanai, Udege, Evans. This is a portrait of Vladimir Arseniev and his friend and guide Dirsu Uzala, who was of Udege origin, roaming the Ussuri river valley and hunting animals. And these are pictures of Udege people. Unfortunately, today in Russia, little has survived from the culture of these peoples. In 2002, there were 1,657 people who indicated their nationality as Udege. A large number of Udege people live in cities and have completely assimilated with the Russian majority. I love this small and cozy museum. Well, we talked a lot about history, and what about the local fauna? One more interesting thing, there is Ussuri tiger, or also we call it Amur tiger. In English, it is Siberian tiger, so don't be confused, guys, because actually in Russian, Siberian would be Sibirsky tiger, but we never say it. In Russian, it is either Amursky tiger or Ussuriski tiger, Amur or Ussuri tiger. And in Ussurisk, there's a lot of tigers, one near the city railway station, then I've seen it in the museum, in the gas station, like everywhere. And I think it's really cool that the city has its symbols like this. And some people ask me in comments, do we see the Siberian slash Amur slash Ussuri tigers often? No, I've never seen them walking in the streets. I've seen them only in the national parks here in our region. But sometimes it happens and they come to some villages in search of food. I don't know, but it's really rarely. In search of tigers, I went out of town. Unfortunately, I didn't find tigers, but instead I found one really cool place. It's called an Emerald Valley. In Russian it is Izumrudnaya Dolina, so you can see it's like a fortress. And now I finally can go here, and now I want to show it to you. Let's go. Just 6 kilometers from the city, a whole story unfolds in front of us. Here are the ancient inhabitants of these territories from the Stone Age, the dwellings of indigenous peoples, and a European medieval fortress. Historical films could be shot here. There is also a whole playground based on Russian fairy tales. This is Zmei Gorыныch, a three-headed dragon, but where is the third head? This is the villain Kощey the Immortal. This is Baba Yaga's hut. And now we are inside of the Baba Yaga chicken house. Not actually a chicken house, but just a house on chicken legs. There's so many interesting exhibits. For some of them, I'm not even sure what they are supposed to do. Like this. Is it a fish net? Or, I don't know, an old medieval physical education class? Is it the place where they like hang at people? I love this rustic playground. If you're ever going to this land, I really recommend you to come here because it's a good place. You can even like rent a house or, I don't know, just enjoy this wooden architecture. There is a cafe, a souvenir store. It's just really cool. And now let's go back to the city center and go to some cafe. Wow, look at this lid. I decided to create that. I decided to recreate that picture, and I almost was killed by this thing, Schlagbaum, we call it. So I decided to recreate my picture when I was walking in the center of Ussurisk with a cup of coffee, and now it's like 10 years later. Look what happened to me. I almost was killed. This coffee shop is called Kafema, and it was originally created here in the Far East, not in Ussurisk, though I read that it was created in Khabarovsk. Then they expanded their industry and built their coffee shops in Vladivostok, in Ussurisk, even in Spassk. Look guys, there's some local, I don't know what to call it, trash place or maybe toilet, maybe both, a graffiti place too. Смотри через розовые очки, it says. Look with the rose glasses or pink glasses. I think that neither pink nor rose glasses will help in this situation. Who needs a new mattress, guys? Not my size. Hello, dogs. Is there any path? I didn't know that there is a path, but look at this, it's like very narrow. Well guys, maybe I'm too harsh joking about the city environment, because look what I found. I found some comfortable chair just on the street. Everything is for people. Look, it's not only very soft, modest, but very well designed combination of colors. There is also some vegetation nearby to fully enjoy the nature views. And this wouldn't be impossible without the help of the authorities of this city. And now I want to tell about one really important figure of Ussurisk. There is a YouTube show about a city official, Vitaly Nalivkin, who really helps people. For example, there's an episode where there was a terrible smell in one of the districts of the city, but Nalivkin decided to resolve this problem, and he hung air fresheners on every tree, and this is how the problem was resolved. And he is a real hero for people, even though sometimes his ways are a little bit irrational. And obviously it is a very good satire on the current Russian bureaucracy and political situation. And also this character really looks like Vladimir Putin, but there are some differences, because Nalivkin
actually helps people. I really love this show. There obviously is a group of video makers behind this all. Their channel is very popular on YouTube because these problems speak to all Russia, to people in all Russian cities, not only in Ussurisk. But it wouldn't be Russia if the creators of this show were not punished. And recently, OMON, the Russian riot police, broke into their office, arrested them, and confiscated all their equipment. And the reason of this is a recent video where Vitaly Nalivkin, according to the plot, was supposed to eliminate a suspicious item to save people from a potential bomb. But accidentally he shot into the billboard of the Единая Россия, United Russia, the Putin's party. And of course the billboard was fake. It was hung by the people who made the video themselves, and they cleaned it all up after filming there in that bus stop. Well, actually, they are being tried for destroying a bench, like a bench at the bus stop. But we all know why they're actually being sued. We all know that this comes from somewhere above, from Moscow, because somebody dared to laugh. I'm really sorry for all this situation. I hope it will resolve well. I hope that the guys will maybe have just a fine. I don't want them to go to prison because everybody loves their videos. Just imagine 8 years in a prison for a video. Yes, so it is quite dangerous in Russia to joke about politicians. And this place is called Arbat. It is a pedestrian street in the historical center of the city. I really like it. I think it is one of the best places in the city. Just look at all these old buildings. This is a monument called a madam with an umbrella. Here's the information about this project. It is actually so beautiful here.
This was my video about Ussurisk, the second largest city of Primorsky Krai. I enjoyed learning about the city, but the taxi driver gave me the most complete picture on the next day. I told him that I liked Ussurisk in comparison with Spassk because they even have theaters, but he was pretty pessimistic and he said that the shops are being closed, all the young people are leaving, and one really eloquent phrase he said in the end was that only drivers, drinkers, military people and manicurists remained in Ussurisk.
Anyway, this is the end of my video. Thank you for watching, and guys, please write your thoughts and opinions in the comments. Did you like Ussurisk? Would you like to visit the city, the Emerald Valley? Would you vote for Vitaly Nalivkin? And as usual, many thanks to the amazing people who support me on Patreon. I'll see you very soon in my next video. Goodbye!